Hey guys, welcome back. All right, we have more insane news with the virus. There's a pastor been jailed just for being at church and having his church service, and this came out of Canada. It says pastor jailed for holding church services amid pandemic restrictions. Now here's something to think about. See, the coronavirus didn't shut down anything. The governments did. See, the governments get to come in, they shut down these churches. See, I'm of the belief that all companies and employees are essential. There is not one that's more essential than the other. We all have to pay our bills. See, this church has bills to pay, and they have to pay the landlord, and the landlord has to pay the bank. So it's a snowball effect. All these people have to get paid. So at some point, these businesses have to open. See, what's insane to me is the governments and authorities, they can go ahead and just shut all this stuff down, and they're still getting paid. They're still having their lockets lined with your tax dollars and giving themselves raises. So that's been the issue with this whole thing. It's completely insane to me. So let's jump into this. This comes from Canada. James Coates, lead pastor of Grace Life Church in Alberta, Canada, has been jailed for holding in-person worship services amid ongoing pandemic restrictions. Coates' attorney, James Kitchen, said the preacher is willing to remain behind bars in order to do the right thing. And what's interesting about this is, if you remember Paul throughout the Bible, he wrote a lot of the books in the Bible in isolation and in jail. So I'm curious to see what God is going to do with this guy in jail, because he's going to reach people. So who knows? This guy might be back to preach in the pulpit soon, or he might be in the jail for a while. So, but we need to be praying for this guy. And just remember, there's a couple pastors that I've listened to in the past, and they did a lot of things behind the bars saving people. In mid-December, Alberta Health Services Inspector Janine Hannaron issued an order against Grace Life, directly mandating the church to ensure all congregants, staff members, and leaders are wearing masks while on the property, to enforce social distancing of at least 6 feet between all persons, and to restrict occupancy of the facility to 15% or less of the building's total operational capacity. 15% they can only operate at. This is a business. I don't understand how you can go in and do this. AHS then filed a court application in January to enforce the order through the courts. The application named Coates, granting the health agency the power to jail the pastor if he continued to hold worship services in violation of government edicts, according to the Justice Center, which is representing the minister. See, and you have to remember too, throughout this whole virus thing, is that suicide rates have been an all-time high. And churches are a very good aspect to help this. There's a group in my own church that they, every Sunday night, it's there to help people who have a lot of issues. You can come in and talk to these people. So I think everything just needs to be opened because the suicides can't be worse than the virus. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that the virus is impacting. And again, it's not actually the virus, it's the government just going insane and shutting down everything. By the end of January, AHS issued another order to Coates demanding to immediately close Grace Life until such time as the premises comes into compliance with government-sanctioned rules. Coates continued holding services at Grace Life, a church with approximately 400 congregants, despite AHS orders. The Justice Center reported the 2 officers with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police visited Coates following the February 7th worship service. The officers told Pastor Coates that he was under arrest and must agree to stop breaching the Chief Medical Officer of Health orders, the center reported. Pastor Coates explained to the officers that he could not do that because to do so would violate his conscience and prevent him from fulfilling his duty as a minister to lead his congregation to worship. One second. Throat's been dry today. The officers then left without arresting him. And then here he is. They showed a Twitter profile. Pastor James Coates held a church service on February 14th. RCMP asked him to turn himself in yesterday, which he did. He is now being held in jail unless he commits to cease holding church services. He could not, in good conscience, agree to this condition. And what's insane to me, too, I remember when this whole virus started to happen, I went to the store, I think it was Bath and Body Works, and they were closed because that's all they sell was all the different soaps and all that stuff. And I can't remember I was there. I was trying to get something for my wife. So instead, I headed over to Target, And they have this section now that is literally just like Bath and Body Works. And because they sell paper towels and food, they're allowed to be open. So they didn't have to, section off this certain area. They could go ahead and have that open. So it's completely insane to me and hypocritical how these things happen, is that these big box stores can stay open. So all this money is getting funneled them instead. Kitchen described the orders in place in Alberta as reminiscent of one encounters in dystopian novels such as George Orwell's 1984. I feel like I've probably heard this at least a few dozen times. I haven't read this book, but I think I'm going to read this. If you've read it, comment below and let me know if you've read this and what's impactful for you. Because I feel like I have a couple books I'm reading in the next few weeks. I'm definitely going to start reading this one. The congregants of Grace Life refused to accept the Alberta government's dystopian new normal, the attorney said. Their first loyalty is to obey their God, true, not government. They are committed to gathering as they always have for in-person worship services. They will challenge this excessive and unlawful government oppression rather than turn back on their beliefs. They also believe they are lawfully exercising their charter-protected freedoms and that the government's restrictions are not justifiable. Governments never destroy civil liberties without pointing to some reason that sounds good, such as safety or equality, he added. The very reason certain rights and freedoms are protected by the Charter is so that the government cannot simply ignore those rights by merely asserting its actions are for a good cause. And in a public statement issued earlier this month, the pastoral staff at Grace Life condemned the ongoing restrictions, stating in part, "We believe people should responsibly return to their lives, church should open, businesses should open, families and friends should come together around meals, and people should begin to exercise their civil liberties again. Otherwise, we may not get them back," the statement continued. See, remember when this whole virus happened, it was supposed to be 2 weeks to go ahead and slow the curve, and I think we're coming up here on 1 year now. In fact, some say we are on the cusp of reaching the point of no return. Protect the vulnerable, exercise reasonable precautions, but begin to live your lives again. Living life comes with risks. Every time we get behind the wheel of a car, we are assuming a degree of risk. We accept the risks due to the benefits of driving. Yes, though vastly overblown, there are associated risks with COVID, as there are with other infections. Human life, though precious, is fragile. As such, death looms over all of us. That is why we need a message of hope. So we got to pray for Guy. If you're thinking about this guy, you got to pray for him. And I believe he's got big plans when he's in jail. There's a lot of people he's going to reach. And this comes all throughout the Bible. Jesus talked about that all the time. 2 Timothy 3:11 through 12. Persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, at Lystra. What persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Lord delivered me. He will be delivered. What's going to happen here? Keep your eye on this article. He will be delivered. Yea, and all that will live godly in Christ, Jesus shall suffer persecution. John 15:19 through 20. If ye were of the world will love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. See, the world, I was just scrolling through Twitter one day, and you should see the ads. It's just complete garbage. The TV, all this stuff is telling you what to do, that you need to be like the world. See, Christians are supposed to be a peculiar people. We're supposed to be different. We're not of the world. And we're in the world, but we're not of it. We're supposed to be teaching godly principles and going out and being that salt and light for the world. Here it is. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. Matthew 5:10 through 12. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you. Listen to this. Doesn't this happen now more than ever? And it says before the end times, it's going to get really bad. And it's starting to get really bad. It's going to get worse. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. 1 Peter 4:12 through 14. I think this was just in my last video too. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you. See, this is unusual. This is common. This is going to keep happening. But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. See, even on my videos, people comment all the time, put all this negative stuff. People call me names, and I think it's funny. It doesn't even bother me anymore. But that, because I know that whenever you go out and do something, there's always going to be people there that are going to throw tomatoes at your face. So don't be afraid to go out and just do something. If you want to make a YouTube video, preach in the street, whatever you got to do, just do it. There's going to be people that are going to be negative, but all you have to do is impact one person. I had someone comment on these videos. We were, talking back and forth, had a very cordial conversation, had some questions, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I hope this video impacted him. If this helps that one person, fantastic. Not for my glory, God's glory. That's what we're doing this for. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. And that's it. I just wanted to get that out there. A lot of crazy things going on. Pastors trying to preach, getting shut down, going to jail. This happens all the time. If you're not a Christian, this is how you do it. Probably some of the most important scriptures in the Bible, Romans 10:9 and 10, says that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. It's super simple. God doesn't make things complex. He makes them super simple for guys like me. And all this is saying is you just have to, it's just a quick prayer you say out loud. You have to believe in your heart to say, hey, Jesus, I'm a sinner. I believe that you died for my sins on the cross. You rose 3 days later. And I just want you to come into my life, take over. I believe everything you did, and I want to be with you in heaven. That's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be those exact words. You can come up with something yourself, and then go get a Bible. I prefer King James, but you can use whatever Bible you want. And start with the book of John. It's a great book. It's in the New Testament. You have the 4 biographies of Jesus. John is the 4th one. It talks about the birth all the way his crucifixion to his resurrection. And I think it's a fantastic place to start. If this is the first time here, been here a bunch of times, subscribe and share. It's the #1 things you can do to help this channel grow. And that's it. We'll see you guys next time.